used to be 3.5s. Now I can sell out the O2 Arena twice. Don't ask what the fee looks like. Don't believe all the media hype. Like,
surprise for the call out. I didn't think I'd
so gotta work hard, this new provides. Email white piece for the feature. Look, what goes up must come down. So when you're in the air, prepare for the landing. I did everything that I could for my hood, so how did they say I don't care for them?
Vlog number 2, another day in the life. Typical day, not flashy day, not for the cameras, just a regular day in my life. Trading, business, meetings, podcasting, hanging around Dubai. We went to Namos, one of the best restaurants in Dubai, in the Four Seasons Hotel, and overall just had a good time, a good day hanging out with the boys. So let's jump right in. Alright, ladies and gents, so we're gonna follow on from yesterday's price action. I'm looking for a trade today. So when I come into it, this was the sell-off of yesterday, and again, this was a readable opportunity but not a tradable one, which is a shame, but we predicted the whole thing. But yeah, some of those days you can't get in. So now when we come into price action today, the problem is when you have a strong sell-off like this, there's nothing much to go off. You have these kind of mini POIs, but nothing really. So you kind of have to really jump into M1 to figure out what's the narrative of the day. So first of all, what I want to get into is, and it's actually happened as we were setting up the cameras, when we have Asia high, and Asia high is looking like a run of liquidity. So we had a build up like this, all of this area building up liquidity, a run of liquidity, and a sell reaction. Right coming up to Frankfurt session or Frankfurt Open, that area becomes a very obvious sell, and that's where traders are getting in. And look, the market even gives them a few reactions. So when that happens, and I read it the opposite, I see build up of liquidity, inducement, and then push out. Look when the volume kicked in on the minute of Frankfurt Open. Where did it go for? The area we would call a smart money trap. We look left. Why is that a smart money trap? Well, it has the typical run of liquidity, mitigation, and so forth, but it's so close to Asia high. And we always know that there's going to be a manipulation, that this is the most manipulated area. So what I want to see now is this is the nearest POI or area of interest, and it might line up with my London Open. So if anything to trade today, it will be somewhere in this zone after these manipulations, and I want to see lower time frame confirmations in London Open, targeting all of this trend line liquidity, all of that liquidity, and Asia low. So that's kind of a setup we can foresee. Right now, as though it's very clear buyers are in control. So if I look into these details, we just read the inducements: build up of liquidity, inducement, push out, mitigation, build up of liquidity, inducement, push out, mitigation, build up of liquidity, inducement, push out. Same here, build up of liquidity, inducement, push out, and that's all grabbing liquidity zones. So you notice how important it is to dissect price action, to know who's in control. Sure, we can have a point of interest, sure we can have our time window, sure we can have our confirmations, but do you know who's in control? It's so important to read as price is updating. Watch the M1 to see who's in control. Watch the narrative, watch the story being built, where are the liquidity pools, who's in control, and watch that whole thing play out. Because if you know how to master this, you know when your higher time frame points of interest is going to fail. You know when something that is counter trend is going to play. You know when something that is pro trend is going to fail. It's so important to master M1 because it's going to help you avoid losses and take better opportunities. It's that thing I always say: would you rather watch a movie or this vlog in 360p, or would you rather watch a movie in 4K Ultra HD? It's the same movie. I'd rather watch it in proper quality, high quality, so I can see all the details. That's exactly what the 1 minute time frame is.
So GU is a very similar story as EU. They're pretty much correlated. We've already had the first manipulation, same thing, where we had a reaction. Price gave them a quick FOMO, induced them out, and it's coming for this POI already, which was expected to induce because it's right above Asia high. So this is more likely to be a smart money trap, so we can actually confirm it is. So similar setup where we have manipulations happening at Frankfurt Open. I just want to find an area of interest, so it's quite high up just like it was on EU, and I want to see if London Open can arrive to somewhere like here, and if I can get lower time frame confirmations to sell, taking all of this trend line liquidity. The same things, time-based manipulation and lower time frame confirmation in our time window. That's what we'll be waiting for, but it's going to take about an hour for price to develop. So in the meantime, let's go get a coffee. Alright guys, so today we have actually a busy day. Aside from trading, we have a podcast with Burn. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head to go get a coffee. We'll probably go to the Palm, somewhere different today, and then I'm going to do a bit of podcast prep. So I'm going to watch a couple of his previous episodes, go through his YouTube channel. I already had a lunch with him a few days ago, so I got to know him face to face, but I want to know a bit of his online version. We can have a good podcast, so we'll do a whole day like that. But yeah, let's go get coffee.
Virgil, I blow, don't spill no drink on my clothes when I'm Louis V dripping. Don't like stress in my dome, straight to the head when I'm 1942 sipping. Been wavy since morning, not to talk to me in public. Mix my drink with a little Molly, smoke my weed to be claro.
Alright, so we're just about to get the coffee, but I want to update the charts. So I'm monitoring. London Open has just happened, this grey box. And what's happened is we've had the break of structures. We've had the bearish reaction after we grabbed liquidity, as we wanted. Both here and also on GU. If I go on to GU, it's done the same thing. It grabbed the liquidity of the smart money trap zones, inducement, bearish reaction, so people are going to come here and sell it. Problem is, it's already come to a demand level here. When it's already come to a demand level, for me, it's just invalidated. Even though the time is there and break of structure is there, it's just worth monitoring. Well, we'll see, but I'm not going to enter.
Now, you remember from the last vlog, I had the exact same same thing happen. It's a bummer. It's happened twice on camera. Everything I need to see is happening as I called it, as I want it, but I have the same invalidation. That means I can't enter a trade. It is what it is. We stay disciplined because a disciplined, restricted trader is a profitable trader. Alright, so let's just give a quick chart update while we wait for the coffee. So this is the inducement of the day on GU, this is the inducement of the day on EU. So we can trade away from it, which is fine, but the problem is it came into demand first. So when we go higher high, higher low, it can also make a higher high. Same here. So we need to find bearish confirmations. So for here, for example, we've had this small run of liquidity, and then we've respected the level, and now we're getting a break of structure here. So if this now comes back to an area like this, that could be a potential sell. But I want to see what the correlation is, because here we've had a sort of break of structure, or this could be inducement. So if this leads to a BOS and does something like this, that's something I can take. If this comes and clears the level, that's something I can take. Point being, it needs to clear the demand in either way. Now that we have a potential inducement, that could be an entry point in our London window. Same here, we have a potential mitigation and run of liquidity. With a break of structure, we could look to take it. So we're just going to monitor now to see what's going on whilst we carry on with our day. Okay, so right before we head to the podcast now, I just want to give an update, and it's follow through exactly as I wanted. Remember, it is a live chart. So the problem is people will be looking to sell here, and it could happen, but the problem is I didn't want to, because there's an element of doubt, which is we came to demand higher high, higher low, higher high. Well, you see exactly the reason we didn't enter the trade, the efficiency of the pullback as I call it. That's the reason we just avoided a loss. Based on my strategy, I have my invalidations to not enter a trade to protect myself. If that invalidation didn't happen, I could have entered the trade, and on many occasions that's kind of a trade I've given as a signal. On this day, it was against my criteria, it was invalidation for me, so therefore I didn't enter, and we therefore avoided a loss. The problem also is because we had this build up of liquidity, inducement, and a strong reaction. So we can get a fake reaction here and just fly. So I don't want to be jumping into sells. Even if it plays out, it could be less favorable. It's also cool to see, as you can see on the screen, the manipulation, inducement low to fuel the move higher happened in the session with the session volatility, and London Open on EU can see exactly when that push up started, exactly on the minute. Time-based movements is key, it's crucial. The other thing is the sellers would see it from a frame of build up, run of liquidity, break of structure after the mitigation. So they're going to be jumping into sells here. The problem is they all got induced just now. So that's why you want to take always trades with confirmations. And if we were just jumping in with sells and chasing this and chasing the session, you've already taken two losses. One on the inducements here, second on the false break of structures. If you're patient, you follow the rules, you avoided a loss here, and now you avoided a loss here, which is what counts. What's the saying? Saved money is earned money. So we be patient, we preserve our capital. When we find a quality setup, then we are happy to deploy. But yeah, I think it's time for the podcast now, so let's take our coffees and head over to the studio. So now we head off to the studio where I am right now, where you can see where the magic happens, the YouTube videos, the round tables, everything you've seen happens in this studio. So after trading the morning session, after going get a coffee, we headed over to the studio to then meet Bernd to do a podcast. Bernd is a legend. I've met so many traders. I've met dozens and dozens of traders. In fact, we hosted a boat event, myself and Alex from Titans of Tomorrow, and then Riz as well from Words of Wisdom. And we had like 40 traders on the boat. And then online, I've seen again hundreds of traders. Only a handful of traders really have my respect, because only a handful have really proven themselves. And Bernd is definitely one of them. So it was honored to have a podcast with him, not only because he is a proven trader, a top ranked trader, but also because I could challenge him and question his beliefs, and he could go into depth and actually defend his position, explain things. And same for him. It was also cool to see that he could question me back, and we just had a high level debate back and forth, challenging each other, questioning each other's perspective. It was cool to have that environment where two traders could just come and have a high level conversation. And it's been very rare for me. And again, I've done plenty of podcasts, I met plenty of traders, but yeah, this was a fun experience. We haven't seen the behind the scenes of the studio, so this is the first time we're taking the vlog to the studio.
Is this the studio you do all your podcasts in?
Everything, bro, from the podcast to the YouTube videos to everything. Now we're quick outfit change, we're ready to go. Looking sharp. Looking very sharp.
You too, good.
Yo, I haven't seen you in a while, man. How you doing? So one of the main reasons I did the podcast, because I was new in Dubai, I wanted to establish myself in the city properly. Meaning I wanted to meet the highest level people in the city, connect with them, build friendships and network. And what an excuse it could be if you do a podcast, have a high level conversation with a high level person, and then use content as an excuse to meet them, and then stay in touch. They become your friends. And then I started to host dinners, host boat events, invite them, and then they meet my other friends, they meet other high level people through me. Then it just becomes a great way to establish yourself in a city, meet high level people. And I had a podcast, for example, with a billionaire, stayed in touch, we are friends now. I also had a podcast with a guy, for example, Sean Hanif. Sean Hanif is worth $100 million and he's a social media specialist, and I did a podcast with him. And if I wanted to get like a personal mentorship from him, of like 1 hour of his time on how I can grow Titans of Tomorrow, I'd probably have to pay him like 10, 20k for the hour. But because of the podcast, I could just basically sit there, ask him anything I want, ask him how to grow the podcast. And it's true what they say, your network is your net worth. Not necessarily monetarily, but like from what you can access process and what you can achieve and what you can maneuver, the podcast has been the best vehicle for that for me. So we are in our second home, our studio, and I'm joined by a familiar face maybe. You maybe have seen him around on podcasts or YouTube. He's growing. So Bernd, he's the number one ranked FTMO trader if I'm not wrong, or the number one in terms of leaderboards.
In terms of leaderboard, all-time record, yes.
So we went for a lunch last week just to get to know each other. Very few people have ever done this, which is showed me my effects, which showed me his track record and all these things. But beyond all of that, just the conversation, I could really understand his views, I could really understand his position, to know that, okay, he's really doing this, he's not a typical guru, let's say, and you're a little bit older than myself, so you've been doing this for a lot longer than me, but it's also cool to see that I'm on one side of the spectrum, which is I'm completely lower time frame and technical based, and I have my ways and credibility therefore, and Bernd is on the complete opposite side, which is high time frame and fundamental driven, so opposing ends of the spectrum. So I want to throw over to you, Bernd. What are you hoping to achieve or goals for this podcast? Because we could end up in a fist fight.
We could end up in a fist fight. At the end of the day, there's no right and wrong. In trading, there's no right approach. And we should get to the point that we all agree that the only right approach is consistency, right? If you're a consistent, profitable trader, then you're right. You cannot be challenged, right?
Yes, you're right.
Regardless how you make that money and regardless how you become consistent. But for me, the definition of a trader is somebody who can consistently make income in the market month over month over month.
What I find interesting, we'll probably jump into the podcast on it, but I feel like people on social media are so concerned with being right and looking correct and looking profitable, rather than being right and being profitable, and there's formulas to that. I think that's what we'll discuss on my perspective, his perspective, on what we've done to go from unprofitable to profitable. I think it'll be a good podcast, man.
And also I think that there's a difference between, and we will go through that in the podcast as well, between making money and being consistent. Again, because everybody can make money in the market. I can close my eyes and out of 10 trades I can have 2 winners, and because it's a 50-50 game at the end of the day, buy or sell. And I can make money with this strategy by closing my eyes, right? It's like casino. But is that a consistent strategy? Can you make consistent income? Again, we're coming back to what's the definition of a trader. Making consistent money with a strategy, whatever that strategy looks like, however that strategy looks like, month over month over month, for years, right? So that's the difference. And everyone can make money, but not everyone can be consistent. And I think that's a topic that we should discuss.
Yeah, well, we got a lot to unpack, so make sure you watch the full podcast, which will be on Titans of tomorrow. But let's jump in.
Alright, just wait for 2 seconds after I clap, let the silence set in, and then we can start. Right? 3, 2, 1.
Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for a special episode. There's very few traders that I truly respect and look up to, and they have my admiration.
First of all, rest in peace, Virgil Abloh. Don't spill no drink on my clothes when I'm Louis V dripping. Don't like stress in my dome. Straight to the head when I'm 1942 sipping. Been wavy since morning.
How were you for time? Was it a long one or
40 minutes.
Say again, sir?
1 hour, 14 minutes.
Okay.
14. Okay.
Perfect. Well, I'm surprised for the call out. I didn't think I'd get exclusive. We maybe have Bernd with ICT, big old ICT. Okay, so really cool podcast with Bernd. I started the podcast for a specific reason, and I didn't know where it was going to go. And for me, it was either to learn from high level people, businessmen and so forth, and be a mentorship for me. Another one is to make cool friends and build my network accordingly. And Bernd is a cool guy living in Dubai, really successful in his career. So it's cool that we do the podcast, but now we're going to go lunch and we'll stay in touch. So let's head over to Namos, where we're going to have lunch.
What's the number plate? 777.
It's a Mansory Phantom. 777. We're gonna have lunch with Bernd, so let's jump in. He's right here actually.
Lamborghini driver, Ferrari 458 Italia. I really spent $1 million just to Richard Millis, and I run willy-nilly through the city. Wavy since London, wavy since Berlin. Don't know they talk to me in public. I'm in a different place.
Hello. Well, you guys tell me, usually when you come to fancy places, the food is like never as good as just going to a kebab place. But I think today was good.
The steak was top notch.
We have a steak professional.
Yes, the steak was really good.
He doesn't joke around.
Rare. No, I'm not joking around. This was good.
How about you, Nagy? First time eating real good in Dubai.
I enjoy the sushi. The sushi was good.
It was almost your first time.
Yeah, first time eating sushi.
There we go.
Good stuff.
Alright, so yeah, we had a nice day today. We started off at the Palm, and then we ended up filming a podcast, went to Namos in the Four Seasons, had a nice lunch with the boys in Bernd, and now just wrapping up. The London session is over, or my London window, and now we're just approaching the New York window. So I want to cover what happened so far. So just like yesterday, we had the same invalidation and the same trade played out. So it's cool to see we called the market and it did exactly what we wanted. It's a shame we couldn't get in, but it's a shame it's like this on the vlogs, where the few times that not not taking the trade plays out. Most of the time, not taking the trade will lead to avoiding losses. So these are the few times where the devil will whisper in your ear and say, change your strategy, jump in these trades. But we take these confluences to protect ourselves. So in this case, it was, yes, it did the manipulation on taking Asia high in the smart money trap, didn't reach supply. But when we saw breaks of structure, we would see that this would be a reason to not enter because price came into this demand level right here. So in the end, we did a run of liquidity. We built highs, it did an inducement, tapping into supply, and then price melted during our London window to take Asia low as we wanted. So everything played out perfectly. It's just we couldn't get in because it was invalidated. Now that it's coming into our New York window, we can expect a bullish reversal because we've had price come into demand. We've had this inducement. The reason it's an inducement is because I'm seeing the divergence where we have on EU, we're getting a lower low and a run of liquidity. On GU, we're getting a mitigation. So this is indicative that price is going to go higher. This led to a break of structure. Same here, it led to a break of structure. So now as the volatility kicks in, we can expect price to come higher. If I can find an entry, I'll look to buy. But both sells of the day were missed, not because we were not paying attention, it just didn't meet our requirement. So we called the market, we couldn't trade it. So discipline always wins. Let's see if we can get a trade in the vlog. But for today, I think that's basically it. Alright, so I have just taken in my New York window a position now. It was a slightly riskier one, so I'm not going to give it on Twitter because I know people don't manage their money correctly. I gave basically all my trades for Twitter, but the more aggressive ones I don't give. Reason being, I can take an aggressive position because I'm up 40% on the last 11 weeks of signals. So I have freedom, I have a buffer now of 40%. But somebody might have followed me yesterday and then their first trade with me, if it's an aggressive one, they'll go straight into the negative. So I don't want to do that, so I'm giving my better setups onto Twitter. But here I've taken a trade in my New York window. If we follow on from what I was saying previously, where we had the inducement of the day in London and it came all the way down, and what it's done now is grabbed previous day's low liquidity, and look how it's reacted off it. Not only did it do a inducement over here, break of structure, smart money trap, so I can say, okay, well, we got a form of manipulation pre-New York open of smart money traders, which is checkerbox number one. Number two, we had the manipulation of the smart money traders and of the previous day low, and then a strong reaction, strong break of structure, as I was saying. And not only that, when I pull it up compared to GU, that equivalent move was getting the diversion, which I talk about, where this area was forming a higher high and mitigating it, whereas this area was forming a lower low and doing an inducement. So this confirmed to me this was a manipulation based on this. And then when I jump down to my M1 to really see was there an entry for me, I can see that there actually was. Reading into it, we have this demand area that led to a break of structure. So I know that that is an area to be looking for an entry. This was an area I'd give a signal to if it came down to it, especially because I had these equal lows. So I was waiting on it. But what I've seen since is price came into this area of demand and gave a reaction. So I jumped in on I jumped in on EU, but GU was actually the reason I got in, because that same area, we got build up of liquidity, inducement, break of structure. So then when it came back to the entry, this was coming off supply, so I wasn't a fan, but this one was clear of supply. So I'm using the both as correlation, entering this. If this now comes back to break even, so I've got my break even protocol just now, if this comes back to this area, I probably will give it as a buy, as a signal, if it's still within my time window. But for now, I'm in, and if it comes down to that entry that I want for Twitter, I'll be break even, no problem, and I'll re-enter again and give it as a signal publicly. But that's the latest update. Okay, so live update. So the trade that I just mentioned a second ago and the reasons we got in, we took that trade, didn't give it as a signal, it was coming towards break even. Now it has gone break even, and then also we've reached our first partial point at 1 to 3, which is always standardized, 1 to 3 and 1 to 10. So we can see our final target is up here, 1 to 10 risk reward. As you guys know, I keep everything fixed for a reason. If you guys want me to explain it, I can go and watch my previous videos because I've gone in length on why it's important to have fixed partials, fixed for data. So this trade now is coming to this kind of inducement supply area, which is why I'm monitoring it, but there's no action to be taken, and it actually looks like now it's going to break through, which is cool to see. If it breaks through here, it should just go on to hit our final 1 to 10. So right now 1 to 3 risk reward met, meaning half of our volume secured, so 1.5% secured. Going to our 1 to 10, if that is locked in, it'll be an extra 5%, so 5% plus 1.5 equals 6.5% for this trade. Finally, after a couple of trades that we watched play out, full TPs, 2 in a row now, finally the third one we can get some action in, and it ticks every box. It's within our key time window, had lower time frame confirmation, had a time-based manipulation, so yeah, a very fitting trade, and it's good to see we got it on camera. So let's see how this one plays out, but I'm hopeful we'll go to final TP. So you've seen a typical day from me, where you've seen my trading and how I'm managing the trades, how I'm carrying my laptop around with me and still living a good life, still enjoying life, having semi-flexibility, going out and doing another project, which is the podcast, connecting with people. Just another typical day for me, having fun, living in Dubai, growing growing businesses, growing brands, growing the podcast, and also maintaining my trading. And I'll do more of these typical days, not curated days for content to show off the Dubai lifestyle. I'm not here for that. Normal days for me, normal things that I get up to. Just want to have someone picks up a camera, follows me around so I can share with you guys. So let me know in the comments what kind of things you want to see, what kind of days you want to see, what kind of content from me you'd like to see in these vlogs. I'm here to show you kind of the behind the scenes of what I get up to. So you guys are in charge, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.